if passed and signed into law, will make it very clear in statutes that counties do not have the authority to usurp or duplicate water law in their zoning regulations. So we think this could help out all water right users in the state of Kansas.
I'm Becky Kiser, Hays Post Eagle Radio News, and I'm talking with Hays Mayor Mason Reuter and City Manager Toby Dougherty. We'll have highlights of the February 26th Hays City Commission meeting on this episode of the Hays Post podcast. It was a fun meeting last night. Some really good information that went around, a couple presentations, Mason, that started out the evening talking about programs that the city has and an agreement, first of all, with Fort Hays Tech North Central about the Big Creek Technical Training Center, and they give an annual report. They have been busy, and they are working well with the city, and just lots of progress, and they hope to continue doing that.
They are an amazing partner, and they've done a lot of good things for our community in the region and beyond. They continue to perform, and we're very lucky to have that partnership with them.
Now, Toby, the partnership is actually a contract that has been in place for a while, and we started out with they would take care of the building down on South Main Street and have some of their programs in there, and they're going to continue doing that, but they're going to switch out some of them.
Yeah, and they've rotated kind of programs in and out at their convenience, but we inherited that building when the Army Reserve facility built the new place out on Commerce Parkway because that building was on our ground. And so I think the city paid a little bit of money for it to help facilitate them moving to bigger digs. But at that time, we had no use for it. And quite frankly, we still don't have a municipal use for it. But the technical college at the time then came along and said, hey, we would like to expand our curriculum, but, we're struggling for space. And it's been a wonderful partnership ever since. They've done a good job of maintaining the building, keeping it up. And it's been a pretty cheap and effective way for them to create more classroom space without having to spend millions of dollars on capital investments.
And the students who are there, this is real world learning experiences that they're getting.
Absolutely. They do a lot of the work inside on their own. They've built walls and moved plumbing and HVAC around, and most of that stuff they do on their own as part of their training curriculum. So it's worked out pretty well for them too.
You anticipate it will continue? This is what, on an annual basis that it's renewed? It
started out as a 5-year lease, and I think we're on either an 18-month or a 2-year auto renew now. But one of the things Eric Burks and I have been talking about is, and Eric referenced it last night, they would like to make some more significant improvements to the building to tailor it towards some of their technology type curriculum. And but they want the satisfaction of being able to do that and knowing the city's not going to kick them out in 2 years. They have to be able to capitalize that, that investment. And so Eric and I have been talking about a longer leash, giving them a little bit of stability to make those investments and giving us a little bit of comfort that we're going to have somebody down there for a while. So that'll probably be coming back to the commission at some point pretty quickly.
Is there anything on the city's radar that the city might have a need for that building or that land there down in the south part of town?
Not immediate. It's a little bit frustrating because that land is in the floodplain. And so you're kind of limited on what type of improvement you can make to the building without having to tear the thing down and raise it out of the floodplain. So it's kind of unique. The property does have to stay public use because that was property we had acquired back when Fort Hays was disbanded. So it has to maintain public use, public benefit. So it didn't like the city could sell it to a commercial property or something like that. So theoretically, we've got some ground around it. We got a vacant lot to the south of it. We've got the parking lot to the north of it. At some point when the National Guard decides they want to fully vacate the area by the aquatic park, we think we could probably work a deal to acquire that piece of property as well, which gives us flexibility options. So right now, for the foreseeable future, we really don't have a municipal use for it. This is probably the highest and best use.
Mason, there was also a report last night, annual report from the city's water conservation specialist, Holly Dickman, talking about the city's water conservation program, which Hays is known for far and wide. And she talked about how things went in 2025 and potential changes that might occur right now. According to Holly, we're looking, and the statistics from the K-State Ag Research Center are looking pretty good for rainfall, but the long-term forecast is it could get dry again. And I know that's always on Holly's mind, that we need to be prepared for that just in case. Yeah,
and I think it's kind of built into our citizenry as well, is there's always a dry period right around the corner, so it's better to be prepared than have it hit us by surprise. So that's, one of the key pieces of our conservation efforts is making sure we're always prepared. And Holly does an amazing job at that. And she showed that through her information and statistics last night.
She talked about the different rebates that the city has. The city invests money in those programs to encourage citizens to save water even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Shower head replacements, toilet replacements, washing machines. There's a lot of different things that we partner with EPA's WaterSense program on, which saves. It's not a huge change in what you do in your day-to-day life, but it provides a lot of water savings, which also saves them money in the long run as well.
You had a cute little story you talked about. She was talking about going into the schools and talking to kids and talking about the importance of water. And they learn that and take it very seriously, bring it home to parents. And you were schooled by your little ones about this.
I was. It was a humbling experience when I picked her up from school and she was telling me about learning about water conservation. And Dad, it's very important. Water is very important to us. Yes, it absolutely is. I went through that same curriculum and it's great to see it come back and just as strong as it was before. For her to latch on to that at an early age shows just how important it really is.
Speaking of water, you and Toby had the opportunity to do some testifying to a bill that was heard at the state legislature that talks about, Toby, you said it very succinctly. Describe it to us.
It solidifies state control of water appropriations and transfers.
So is that good for Hays? Is that something we would like to have happen?
We would. Most people in the water world think it is very clearly written in state statute that the state of Kansas controls water appropriations, meaning how water rights are put to use, and water transfers, which is the process Hays and Russell are going through. And so we have followed for 11 years now a state regulatory process to develop our property in Edwards County as a long-term water supply. Edwards County intervened and tried to block that water transfer during the transfer proceedings. They were unsuccessful, and in February of 2024, an administrative law judge approved Hays and Russell's water transfer application. In April of 2024, Edwards County rewrote their zoning regulations and essentially incorporated the Kansas Water Appropriation and Transfer Act into their zoning code, hoping to create a secondary regulatory process that Hays and Russell would have to follow that they controlled. Obviously, this is illegal, but for some reason, they felt like they had the statutory authority to do it. So Representative Wassinger sponsored a bill that, if passed and signed into law, will make it very clear in statutes that counties do not have the authority to usurp or duplicate water law in their zoning regulations. So we think this could help out all water right users in the state of Kansas.
I've heard some complaints, and I can't tell you exactly who they were from, but there were some concerns that this takes away local autonomy somewhat. Would you agree with that or not?
No, I would disagree with that. It would take away local control if the locals had the authority originally to do that. But most people believe that counties never did have the authority. This is kind of a usurpation of powers of the state. So it is solidifying state control, not taking away local control. I have no doubt that some counties believe they have the right to do this. But that is their belief and not how most people view the laws as they're written today. So this solidifies how the majority feels that the laws are written today.
Do we have any sort of idea when we might know something about this? They just had their turnaround, didn't they?
So the bill has been passed out of the House. Yesterday there was a Senate committee hearing. So then at some point it could make it to the floor of the Senate for a vote. And then if approved, then it can make it to the governor for signature. So we're very happy with the progress so far.
And of course, as we know, the governor's been a big proponent of water in the entire state and came to Hays. Mason, of course, you were there and talking with her and about how important she feels it is for the entire state, making it one of her priorities as she's has her last year in office.
Absolutely. It is one of the, if not most important, natural resource we have here in Kansas to not only grow our economy, but sustain what we already have. If we're not taking care of it and we're just kind of waiting for things to happen, it's going to be detrimental to the entire state economy. And being proactive is going to be the way that we survive and come out on top.
The other thing I wanted to talk about was some movement on plans for a planned 24/7 full-service travel plaza. We've been hearing about it, and approved last night, Mason, were public hearing dates for a community improvement district, a CID as we call it, and also a tax increment financing project, a TIF. And I think people are really excited. The commissioners were talking about, if you think back to when we didn't have that growth on the north end of town, and once the mall went in, or once something north of I-70 went in, it started filling in. And there's the belief that if we get to this exit 157 area and start filling it in with the Travel Plaza, more retail will come.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. Nobody wants to go out to where no one's at. So someone's going to be first, and one of the greatest things you can do is have a travel plaza that's going to pull people off the interstate in the first place. Mr. Augustine has done an amazing job with all of his facilities across the state. They're wonderful to stop at, and we're lucky that he wants to invest in our community for it, and providing the public an opportunity to, see what can come of it, how it's going to affect them. It's great to see it affecting us in a positive way. I think last week during the work session, going through the cost-benefit analysis, showing a return on investment for us of 4 digits, 1,000+% on return on investment for us. I mean, because right now the property is generating absolutely nothing for anybody.
Right.
So this is nothing but a huge benefit for our community.
Toby, how will these two instruments affect taxpayers as part of the economic development policy for this city? But how's it going to affect me and my taxes I pay?
It won't affect you. Actually, it'll benefit you. So the CID, the Community Improvement District, that's an added sales tax. That can be included at the request of the property owner to reimburse the property owner for hard cost of building the facility, some of the hard cost. And so that's something that only people that utilize the facility pay, and it doesn't come at the detriment of sales taxes that are paid that we receive here at the state or at the city. So right now there's 0 sales taxes being created on that property. And when it's all said and done, it'll be tens of thousands of dollars a year out there. So that'll be going straight back into our general fund. On the property tax side, as Mason mentioned, the property's generating nothing right now. So there is a tax rebate to the property owner to reimburse them for some site grading and other development costs there. But once that runs out, then that comes back on the tax rolls and it benefits everybody from a property tax perspective. But in the interim, they haven't lost anything. We've just reallocated things over here. So it's a boon to all taxpayers in Kansas or in Hays.
And in the little bit of time we had left, I wanted to ask you, Toby, there was in the program report update, there was a little bit of information about some accolades to the recycling program. We're doing a good job, as are the employees out there.
Yeah, and that was as much on the residents and customers as it was on the employees. So the place where we send our paper and cardboard bales, they periodically take a bale off of the conveyor, and these are 1.5 ton bales. They're not small bales, but they typically pull one off and just break it open and see how much foreign objects are in there. Plastic, styrofoam, things like that shouldn't be in there. And they broke one of ours open, and it was had the least amount of foreign debris. I think in a 1.5 ton bale, it had less than 2 pounds.
It was less than a pound, and it was
wow,
the least amount they've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah, and so that's a testament to our employees that are putting the things into the balers and making sure there's no foreign objects in there. But also our customers do a good job of separating, and they don't contaminate the paper and cardboard. So kudos to everybody for doing a great job.